Go live?
Yeah.
All right. Let me know. Give me the cue.
And we're live.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome on this Sunday afternoon, actually noon, to our third episode of Founders Unfiltered. We are here with Govind Shorewala, who's from Fair Angels, and we are very pleased to have Sumesh here, who's the co-founder of Board Infinity. If you've not checked out Board Infinity yet, it's an amazing platform. They let you have a whole lot of employee-worthy skills, getting upskill, and they are live with a lot of learning programs which are aimed at specifically creating employability for people with 0 to 5 years of experience and maybe even more. But that's the target of it. Of course, there's no need to introduce Fair Angels. They are a group of young entrepreneurs and professionals who have pooled their capital together to invest in very passionate founders like Sumesh. They are the ones who would make sure that a disruptive startup gets the kind of push that they need to become big. And they have chosen to today help us introduce Sumesh and Board Infinity to the rest of us. So first, I'd like to welcome Sumesh. Hi, Sumesh. Thanks for being here. A series of episodes that we've had a lot of interest in anything to do with EdTech. We're very happy to have a first-person driver seat view of what it looks like from the other end of the table. And of course, Govind, thanks for coming back here. Thanks for introducing us to Sumesh. I will actually start with Sumesh. Sumesh, could you just give us like a small brief of what Board Infinity is about, even though I have made a very bad attempt at introducing it, because I wanted you to give us a brief.
I think if I had to put Board Infinity in one line, youngsters who actually find it difficult to compete in the job market. Youngsters, it's people probably in the 18 to 26, 27 years old kind of range. And these are folks who typically find it difficult to compete in the job market. They kind of take our short duration courses, and in that process, they increase their salaries by, let's say, 100%, 150%. And in the end result is that they kind of gain financial freedom for their families. So that's what we do in a nutshell. As a company, we have a stack of products which is very focused on technology and management oriented. And these are basically delivered live online. It could be a cohort-based model. It could be a 1:1 personal training model as well. Our instructors basically come from the industry, just industry expert pool, trying to solve the problem around employability and trying to get people into jobs. And we've been in the market for the last 4 years, working with customers across 300 plus cities and towns in India. And we're a team of around 200 folks. So that's in short about what we are, and happy to deep dive and explain more about what we do.
Sure. I was actually curious, what got you to identify this as a problem? Maybe make a plan about it and then execute it. Like the planning and execution is later, but I'm more curious on how did you stumble upon a problem like this?
Yeah, I think for me, the journey was not like a moment where I thought, okay, I'm going to start this. But for me, the journey was probably 10, 11, 12 years back when I was right in my college during my undergrad days. So I'll tell you a little bit of story that happened at that point of time. So I used to work with the HR consulting firm back in Trivandrum. That's where I studied. And the interesting part was that we conducted a job fair. It was the first job fair in Trivandrum, where we brought in a lot of companies from the ITS space. These were your BPOs and call centers of those times, like your Hinduja Group, Allianz Cornell, and those kinds. And then on the demand side, you had a lot of job seekers who are coming out of college, who are just out of college, right? So we were expecting probably around 100, 150 people to turn up. But we had more than 5,000 folks from 14 districts who came in. And interestingly, this happened in a women's college. It was the oldest college in Kerala. It happened in a women's college. And you had a lot of men actually ramping through that entire college area. And the event took up the shape of even police coming and trying to control crowd there. They really didn't know what was happening, but in fact, the event was that there was a job fair going on. So I saw the virality of actually, having something like a job change perspectives and change the trajectory of people out there. And that whole process, I think around 200, 250 folks got an employment as well. One thing led to the other. I believe when I started my career in music, so that's where I started off in 2010, and that was a time when the company was going through a high growth pace. I was one of the youngest trainers there in music. 6 months into my journey in the company, I went and taught. I went and taught statistics and SQL to students who were coming in from colleges there. So I would say that over a period of time, I developed a flavor for learning and development quite a bit. Even though my primary work could have been in consulting, management consulting. My last firm was PricewaterhouseCoopers. That's where I worked for close to 2 years after my master's. The similar trajectory was for Abhi as well, my co-founder. In fact, he was an entrepreneur post his engineering. He did it from college back in Agra. And, we kind of understood what it means to actually build your career step by step, coming from a tier 2, tier 3 kind of city environment and trying to push through, right? And in college, Abhi was actually working on a problem statement, which was how do you connect tier 1 faculty to tier 2, tier 3 colleges so that you can improve the learning experience there. 2017 is when we start actually discussing a lot of ideas around how we can kind of integrate a lot of these things. We have a lot of personal experience doing working in this market, personal anecdotes, research around the industry, did projects around this thing. And 17 is when we decided to start off. So I think it was not like one moment, but I would say a lot of things leading up to starting off and venturing out in this space. And yeah, so it's been a 4-year journey for us today as we speak.
That's great. Govind, do you have a follow-up?
Sure. So Sumesh, this is one of those ideas which has been there for a decade or more. Everyone's like, industry wants something else, colleges give something else, but many people don't attempt it. So how did you start? How did you go about it? How did you figure out a moat? Because this is something everyone knows already, right? But there are very few who solve it and who don't give up and build it, right?
Yeah. So I think when I look at any venture or any business, I look at two things. One is whether there is a market risk or whether there is a execution risk. So and if you look at some of the new age products like Facebooks of the world, etc., there is no market. The market was created. The market was about moving out of boredom. How do you elevate your boredom and do something around it? In our case, there was a market, but the challenge in the market was that you go to at least, let's say, 100 students and talk to them about what they want to do in their life. They don't know what they want to do in their life. That's one. Second part is around that. What skills do I develop if I even know what I want to do, right? The third challenge is that, okay, I've built these skills. Now, what do I do in terms of moving to a job or a company, right? Now, if you look at all the players in the market previous to, let's say, 2014, this was answered in its piecemeal fashion. So you had counseling companies, you had assessment companies trying to understand whether somebody would fit into some kind of a job or not, and then you had recruitment consultants, right? Whereas for the customer, this is actually one problem statement. So where we started off thinking very differently is that if you are thinking from a customer standpoint, all these three problems need to be solved for them. And if you can solve this end to end, you are solving a larger proportion of problems that they are facing. So that was a basic insight which we started off, right? Second, if you actually look at the entire industry, the NPS of the industry is very low. Why is it low? It's because of two reasons. One is that probably people are not getting what they want to get in terms of the outcomes or what they expect and what they get to do. Second, most of the scaled up companies stop innovating after a point when they realize that, I have reached a particular point. Now, where we saw the opportunity is that the way of solving this problem, that could be completely reimagined. The way of delivering extremely great customer experience, that could have been completely reimagined. And three, tying up all these problems to solve it. These are the three areas where we try to tackle. So I'll tell you one core thing that we believed in, right? If you look at all the EdTech companies out here, which would have scaled up over a period of time, the most scalable thing is to package content and sell. right? Now, will that lead to a superior learning outcome? Nobody knows. Why is it so? Because as humans, we still want very high engagement experiences, hence gamification, and you can talk about a lot of things like that. But even today, and the highest form of engagement is when two people sit together and talk, and that cannot be, or today it is not replaced by a virtual robotic experience yet, even though we are pushing forward in that frontier. So what we did was that we created a platform where we brought in people from the industry to come and teach students or people in that early stages to get into jobs. And we have not changed even one bit from that model in the last 4 years. So much so that today we have clones which are copying the model that we introduced in the market. So that was the first thing that we introduced. Second, 4 months into the journey in Board Infinite 2017, we onboarded our first company which would hire our students. And this was Future Group, erstwhile Praxis Retail. And Abhi was actually working there before we started off this thing. And we knew that if you can solve for outcomes post any kind of skilling, the customer is ready to listen to you more and more. With these two as our primary ways to hit the market or look at building a minimum viable scale in the market, we went on it, and we have not even stayed away from that path. Today we have 600 recruiters hiring on our platform, a run rate of close to 160 recruiters per month. This even beats some of the universities out there in terms of what they do in a year. We have 1,500 experts who are plug and play, so much so that today's supply is actually higher than the demand. And we have stayed away from branding with a college certificate or anything of that sort. We went super first principles in what the customer needs, and we started solving. So I think that's the way we built out our brand. And today, these are the core tenets with which we are building out our brand again. And that's where we have seen scale also.
Actually, I was curious. So you and Abhi met during a working together environment, or did you just happen to stumble upon him? Like, how did the two of you meet up and think of this?
So we both are alumni from SPJ in Mumbai, SPJMR. And so I was 13, 15, he was 14, 16.
Okay.
So we knew each other from those days. From a company building standpoint, it's during 2016, 17 that we start talking a lot more around problem statements in this area and then trying to do it. So I think we would have spent at least 1.5 years researching into the market before even going and incorporating the company to even start. In fact, we incorporated the company when we got our first check. As in the client said that, I'm not going to pay money to without you guys incorporating. So that was how we incorporated the company.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you stayed away from the certification part of upskilling someone to the first principles of it. So I was curious, how much weightage does a certificate versus a non-certificate worthy upskilling does? Like, you are in the market, you understand that people might come look at the number of amount of money that they have to put in, and they realize there is actually no certificate per se, yet they end up taking it up. So what is the shift of paradigm there?
So if you actually really go very deep into why a certificate exists, a certificate is a badge of trust, like a currency, right? That badge of trust could come from organizations which already have a brand. That badge of trust could come from somebody who is currently trying to build a brand. Now, if you look at the customer, let's try to take a survey of 100 people who come into this entire game, right? Some people want degrees. Now, you can't really customer away from thinking you don't need a degree. That would be stupid. Why? Because even today, the majority of employers would want you to have a degree, even though it's an insurance product, right?
Right.
The employer also knows that it's not like you have the degree, you might have the skills. It's the portfolios, the projects that you do that will enable you to get there. So the ones who really want to have a degree, and you can't really replace any of the top schools, Ivy Leagues, or any of the degree producing, let's say, colleges. It's very difficult to kind of go and say that that credential is not valid. That credential is actually valid. But let's say you are out of higher education, you are coming out of higher education, and you want to learn a skill, let's say in data science or in product management or anything for that matter, there the employer's receptance to you having, let's say, a certificate from college which is ranked in top 120, 30, that actually doesn't matter to them a lot. What matters to them, especially at the entry level, let's say 0 to 5 years, is do you have the specific skill sets that can enable me to deploy you on the job right from day one? That's projects, that's portfolio building, that's not degrees. So because I don't want to name any companies, but there are larger companies whose certificates have not really working out for the employer, and they've come and said that why don't you give us your students, even though it might be a recognized university giving a certificate, right? So I think post degree, the act of building certificates by, again, going for a university accredited program is not necessary. And that's been our thesis. And that has kind of worked out also. But still today, Shruti, the major problem is trust building with the customer, right?
Yeah.
So for us, the trust building is the number of placements that could happen, number of placements that has happened. What is the process around doing this thing? If you are reasonably looking for a career outcome, I'll be able to do it provided you do your job of study. So that has built a lot of trust with the customer, saying that, okay, this is one company which is trying to, and in fact, today, a bunch of companies which is trying to solve for this actual path of getting into, a career outcome that can be there. And, and certain business models also kind of tune to that, in the sense that for us, we don't charge the customer the entire fees. We charge a particular fee. And then once they are getting placed, if they want to go through us, we charge a placement fee. So they know that we have our skin in the game.
That's amazing. And that I believe COVID must have accelerated it, as it did for everyone who was doing anything with online education and online work per se. But I think I read an article in Business Standard, which had some really interesting numbers. Would you, so from 2019 to 2020 and from 20 to 21, which one is the more accelerated part of growth of the company compared to what's when you started in 17 and you sort of were trying to build a ground? I know that COVID did accelerate, but you've been around before COVID had come in and become big. And that article that I'm referring to actually came out before COVID hit us. So I'm really curious.
Yeah, so I think COVID till now, as in start of COVID till now, the company would have grown at least by 10x easily in terms of our growth. Now, can we completely attribute it to COVID? I'm slightly doubtful. Now, one of the things that COVID has brought to the customer's life is that a customer who is very attuned to offline classes, right? And you go to places like Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, they really want to be only in offline classes. They say online, I don't want to study. They're not even ready to listen that it's a live class and how it can be beneficial. Right? There's so much of friction. Now, these customers had no option. And because they had no option, they started choosing online as a medium to study, right? So that has definitely helped. Now, today, what we are seeing is that customers are preferring hybrid. When I say hybrid, there are still a particular set of customers whom you can tap into in, let's say, tier 2, tier 3, tier 1 cities also, who want to have a hybrid experience. Just like, people who are sitting in from a work from home basis thinking that, I think I need to go back to office. And when you're in office, you feel that, I think I need to go back home. So it's like that. It's a combination of both that is happening right now. So COVID helped in that behavioral change because customer didn't have any other option. That's one. Now for us, I think every year we've been able to consistently do a 2.5 to 3x kind of growth over the last 3 and a half years of existence. But COVID really accelerated us in terms of the customer behavioral change pattern. And I think that's across EdTech. What I think would have really helped us in the last 18-24 months is that our placement rates actually started shooting up. The number of absolute offers that is being given out on the platform is extremely high these days. And that has helped increase the flywheel effect inside the company. And in the sense that a large proportion of our customers are coming in organically these days. And the whole point of focusing on career outcomes is actually helping us get there as well.
Great, great. Govind, do you have a question?
Sure. So Sumesh, I've been involved in education, and I feel that once the brand is built, there is the constraint is not the demand but the supply. Have you reached that stage where you feel there are more students coming than more jobs you guys can provide, or where is your constraint? Is it the demand or the supply right now?
So Govind, we work with the top 4-5 IT companies out of top 15 IT companies in India today. So this includes like of Capgemini, Tech Mahindra, TCS, as well as Genpact. Now, the constraint I am having today is that every 3 to 4 days they are coming to us and saying, do you have more profiles? This is the constraint that we are having. So it is a myth that we are a supply constraint part. I think, and probably I'm not getting brownie points for this, but the challenge in any educational venture is that the motivation of a customer to sit and study is as important as whatever that the provider has to give as well. And what we believe is that if we can solve for that, and that's why we have been focusing on building high engagement experience. We act like a school, like you have these school children when they are in first standard, second and third standard. You have to build a lot of discipline in them to get there, right? So trust me, it's not that the Indian higher education system is teaching them to be disciplined to how to get to jobs and do that, right? So there's a lot of behavioral correction also that needs to happen. So what I believe is that today our challenge is to understand how we can motivate students more to study. How do we ensure we plug them off from other channels to sit and study? These are the kind of challenges we are facing today. I don't think we have a challenge around the supply side. Of course, there is a challenge around how do you build your brand faster, in the sense that how do you make more and more customers trust you more, and also around how do you build affordability by ECMI solutions and those kind of things.
Yeah, I believe I was listening to an interview with the CEO of Duolingo, and there were parents who walk up to him saying, we are okay if our kid uses Duolingo because it's at least a good productive screen time instead of what they would have done on a Minecraft or something else. So yeah, I understand that your competition is not actually other edtechs, it's the diversion of attention part of education. I was actually curious. So you've been around for a long time, yet we don't see a very mega ATL campaign on television. So, so my natural question to you is it because you've gathered a great SEO leverage on what you do because you've been around for so long, or is it because the contacts and the kind of people that you've provided to the companies that they keep coming back, so you don't necessarily need to be spending on something like a marketing campaign per se? So how do you
Great question. So I think to a specific scale that you want to reach, let's say to a 50 to 100 crore kind of range, it's just not necessary that you need to have an ATL campaign to drive that. I think what is more important is that in your initial journey, you figure out those extremely scalable customer acquisition channels, and that too without increasing the CAC that you have. So for us, we are sitting on one of the industry best CACs. So we're primarily a digital company, and we use 3 levers out there. One is of course organic, and specifically on inorganic side, we look at Instagrams of the world, etc. But in the inorganic side also, we look at low, as in top of the funnel customers being nurtured to get to the bottom of the funnel. So what I have seen as a major the thing that helped us is that we continuously optimize on our digital marketing piece, and now that involves the performance side, and that involves the organic side as well. So when I say organic side, at least 20 to 25% customers today every month comes through references, which is our existing customers, right? We are thinking how can we push it to 40-45% as we keep scaling as well. And to do this while you're scaling is like really hard. Now what we have understood is that, do we need to invest in ATL right now? Probably the answer is not very soon, but it might happen in the coming quarters. But has that impeded our growth? No. So my take has always been that at least to a certain scale that you want to reach, you might want to do it without going the traditional routes as well. And second is also helped one level, Shruti, is that, as a company, we were not overly visible as well. When I say overly visible, we've always been tried to execute more than speak about the execution. And over the last 1.5 years, we started speaking more along with our execution as well. So I would put it that way. It has helped us also because we have reached a specific scale right now. Even if somebody wants to copy the model and come out in the market, it will take some time for them to catch up. So I think these were some strategy calls that we did. But right now we are, I think we're heavily investing on the brand side, and a lot of hiring is also happening around the whole space. And I think it will be, I don't think ATF might be the only answer to it, but it will be more a content and a community-led approach, which we already been doing, but we're going to scale that probably very, as in we're going to scale probably 5x, 10x on what we are currently doing. So that's how it is going.
Yeah, so cue for the audience, there might be announcements of what they're hiring for in a few minutes to come. We will open the floor for the questions in a while. I just have one more question. There are a whole lot of EdTechs. How do you differentiate yourself from what someone else is doing? And they are probably doing at a different market, maybe. So what's the differentiation for you? Because what you're doing is pretty common currently.
Yeah, so there are two things to it, right? One part is that the more you can speak as a brand, not what your competitor speaks, the better for you. The reason being that if out of 100 people, 99 people are speaking the same thing, and in our market, it is about degreeification and certification versus one brand speaking that you don't need that. What you need is this, and I'll help you get there. We basically catch the attention of the customer sooner and sooner, right? That's one part, and that's a personal philosophy also, that we don't benchmark ourselves to the competition. We benchmark ourselves to what we could really do for the customer. So we kind of do not have a competition compass to look at how we can innovate for the customer. So even in our counselor's pitch, right from the initial brand experience to the counselor's pitch, it is very evident when they speak to them saying that if you're actually looking for a decent career outcome, you really don't need that certification, right? And you don't need that certification from that XYZ college also. So that's not what the employer is wanting. And if you want to get connected to a large pool of recruiters after going to the course, and you're able to pull that specific effort, I'll be able to get you there. And inside the value prop also, we have designed things which will, kind of hit the nail on the head on these pieces. I would put it that way. I think the other aspect is also that you should also understand that the companies which have survived for 4 or 5 years in education, the breed of entrepreneurs is very different from the companies which started when COVID started. So there are trend spotters, and then there are people who think very long. So I think our whole thesis around building a company was to look at it very long. So to give you a little bit of idea about what we are thinking around for our goal in the next, let's say 5-6 years, is that we've put a North Star metric that 1 million career transition is what we are going to do in FY 26-27. Now, it's a falsifiable goal. It can be done, it cannot be done, but the pursuit is towards that, right? And the very few companies which will come and say what they are actually doing. So for example, if you look at some of the larger companies, they are in multiple segments doing multiple things. We said that we're not going to do multiple things in multiple segments. We said that we'll build the segment leadership in early careers, which is 0 to 5 year space. And even today, when a customer comes from a 10-12 year kind of experience standpoint, we do not even take them inside. So, I am a big believer in the fact that, if you define and position yourself extremely well, and you execute on it day in and day out, it's very difficult for the competition to beat you. So I can give you a lot of parallels, right? I mean, you look like an establishment like Starbucks. Now for 20-25 years of their existence, their entire philosophy was only around coffee. Now you have a couple of products around it, right? But it's very difficult to position yourself in a consumer's mind if you're not very clear around what you're doing. And it is very difficult to be multiple things, no matter how much your capital you have. And you would also see that a lot of companies make rookie mistakes of branding their companies in different ways. So for example, we said that Board Infinity should stand for early career segment. Now tomorrow, let's say if you want to go to mid career, late career, it should be different names altogether. But if you look at some of the companies, what they do is that they take their brand name and then say that, like, I'll give you a classic example, right? Oyo stood for cheap hotels. It was always like that. The value was for that, right? And suddenly Townhouse came up, and it is very difficult to, even say that Townhouse by Oyo. What does that even mean? I mean, it's like saying that Maruti is by BMW, or it's the other way around, right? So I think a lot of companies make this rookie mistake. We have not made any rookie mistakes till now. Even though the whole point is it's companies with capital which makes a lot of rookie mistakes. But our positioning has been clear in the market. We've never changed away from that position, and we keep strengthening on that positioning. And it's the same thing, right? If I have a problem with my bones, I'm going to a doctor who is meant for bones. I'm not going to a general medicine guy, right? So these are all basic things, and I think companies forget basics when they are in their pursuit of growth. I mean, we're one company which still has only 4 to 5 products for this job oriented outcome. There are companies with having 50, but every product that you have is complexity in the system. And if you can't build depth in one product, and if you think that you're going to learn like 10 products and see what is going to work out, it just doesn't give you scale, right? So we've always been very focused, and very difficult to not focus with a certain amount of rigidity, but it is focus for the sake of focus to ensure that you actually stand for something and you build around it. So we don't, in fact, all my counselors, let's say if they're talking to some of the players, let's say the customer is prospecting a competitor, they're easily able to thrash the competition because the value prop is extremely clear from Board Infinity and how we can help you. If we can't help you, we'll tell you that this is one customer whom we can't help, right? And that way it's very strong. That positioning in the market is very strong. Of course, maybe from a marketing or a ATL standpoint, it's not that we are strong in that thing, but eventually we'll get there. But in that whole point, we are never capping our growth also. We're growing without being under the radar really well by being very strong and very focused.
So what would you call would be like the few pivotal moments? Like, of course, the first check, but like after that, what has been like a milestone achievement, a pivotal moment to change things? And I'm only asking this because I'm collating all the questions. I have about 13 already. So
no, I think it's very cute to start a startup. I would put it that way. All that matters in a company is cash flow. It's whether it's from investors' money, customer money, that you can sort out along the way. But we had this moment where we were more B2B-ish in our nature. I think initial 1.5 years, because we didn't have the money that we had to spend on marketing at that point of time, and we actually created our brand by working with colleges. And basically we used to train their students and push them for jobs. And we could go to the market and say that this college works with us, and we could leverage a lot of brand names, which is already there. Let's put it that way. Here, the payment mode was that the customer pays to the college and the college pays to us. Now, Indian education system traditionally, if you're a software company selling to colleges or schools, or if you're a company which is selling to schools or colleges, good luck to you, because cash flow becomes the biggest problem. Because it is very difficult to get colleges to pay on time or schools to pay on time. And I still remember, we are right now approaching Diwali, right? 2018 Diwali, me and Abhi, I think we were standing outside office and we were like, boss, we are struggling to pay another 6 lakhs of salary and these guys have not given us our money yet. And at that moment, I think we took a vow saying that we are completely tilting this model, going directly to the customer. And within 3 months, we pivoted our entire model from a B2B to B2C brand. So my first set of investors who came in, I told them, we are pivoting. You're putting money in a company which is going to pivot right now. And of course, there were apprehensions because they felt that we are great in B2B. But we said that we are not great in B2B. We're great at solving problems. We're going B2C. That's all. And I think that was pivotal for us, because from there as a company, we have grown 10 into 440x in terms of where we were and where we are right now. And that was very crucial for us. That was a very pivotal moment because we understood that go directly to the customers. It is and you should know how to do that in a more effective way, but it is always good to go directly to the customer. Now, I'm not saying that B2B is not a lucrative way, but you have to be very selective about the clients that you do and the kind of things that you want to do with them. So that way we understood that going directly to the customer made sense. So that was one pivotal moment. There has been multiple, but I think this could be one of the most important moments for us, because we tilted our model completely, and from there we started seeing like real scale, and scale where we were able to scale without a lot of external cash outs. So I think that was one of the core moments, I would say.
So we've got about 25 minutes left into this session. I have multiple barrage of questions coming in. I'll start with the first one. You upskill freshers. Which are the courses which have yielded most interest?
Okay, so our course creation framework is based on two things. One is there consumer aspiration to it? Is there industry supply in terms of job? So classic cases which we have not scaled up is sales and marketing. A lot of people don't want to take a course to get into sales and marketing. So that's the truth, but 70% plus jobs in the market is sales and marketing. Now, we spent majorly on building three categories till now. One is around data analytics and some of those. Second around digital marketing, and third around web development or coding. And we have a couple of others as well, like cybersecurity and products which are scaling right now. But these are the three that we do. Now, these three products are very important in its product portfolio. Why? Because this is able to serve a lot of tech and management oriented students. So digital marketing is something that a person coming from a BTech or a BE or a BSc IT, any kind of background can do. So I would say these courses are very inclusive, except for, let's say, web development, where web development today is majorly taken by BCA, BSc, but of course, a person who wants to learn coding can learn as well. Data analytics is a combination of math, business, and technology, which means anyone who has an inclination, probably a BA English might be difficult because if their maths capability is on the lower side, it might be a little difficult. But these three courses, the product mix has helped us because it has helped us attract a larger, inclusive set of audience. And whenever we launch products, we look at that part, that can it serve a larger set of audience or is it a niche audience? So for example, product management, we do have a product in that, but it can't serve a large set of audience. It can definitely become a good, profitable niche segment that you want to work with. So we have that. It's not that we don't have it, but it can't become an extremely large category by itself.
Got it. So another question is, how difficult was it to get your first partner company? But I think you've almost answered that in the beginning. And did you already have a batch of students ready to go to that company?
Yeah, so I would say that so we're based out of Mumbai, and there is a college. I don't know whether you guys understand the topography here. There's a college which is north of Mumbai, which is called NL Dalmia College by the Dalmia Group. So around 85 students took up our initial program there. And interestingly, your first set of clients actually come from your network. So the person who helped us establish there was an ex-professor from SPJ who actually moved there. So we got our first set of people there. Then what we did was that, of course, we had connects to around 40 to 50 companies across the network that we have had. So Abhi's CHRO in Praxis Retail, right now Praxis Retail, but Future Retail earlier. So these folks wanted to hire certain folks in their management cadre in their stores. So they had these stores, which is basically hometown stores, which is in the furniture. So we linked. So that's the first time we started linking this company and this thing. And this happened, I think, 3 months after we started the company. And it was very interesting. Also, I'll tell you what happened. So there was this 14 to 20 colleges in Bombay that I was actively pursuing to come and join the platform. And all 14 of them was delaying. Yes, there is some merit in doing this thing and that. And this was again another pivotal moment, I would say, and this was way back. And I told Abhi that, we have this job. I think I think this might change the trajectory of how things are going to happen. These 20-25 clients whom we were actively chasing, in the night, I sent out a mail to them saying that Future Group has partnered with us. They are giving this job. This is the package. I would like your students to be interviewed. And out of that 20-25 folks, 20 people replied within 6 hours.
Yeah, of course.
20 people. I was like amazed. I just understood that, if you have to solve, and that kind of strengthened your proposition also, right? It's everybody wants jobs as an outcome, or anybody wants, you are basically teaching to test, right? You are learning so that you can score good marks. You can go score good marks because you can go to a good college. You can go to a good college so you can earn better. So, that's how we do it. I mean, we don't learn for the sake of learning. There are very few people who do that. So let's, we understood how the market is, right? And so that's how we did. And that's how we started off. And today we are sitting around 650 recruiters actually right now.
Oh, wow. So Kishore here has a question. Kishore, would you like to take it up, or should I read it out for you? Okay, I'll read it out. So he's saying hypothetically for an NGO, if we wanted to make hands-on learning completely free of cost, and we have like multiple revenue or fund streams, CSR funding, hiring funds, donations, like business integration, public mentorship, etc., how do you think it can be made sustainable, or what do you think would be the obstacles we might come across?
Okay, I think CSR funds is a great way. Out of all the different things that I know here, I think a lot of CSR funds are working with NGOs to solve for XYZ goals. Could be millennial development goals, could be employability related to this thing. I know a lot of CSR funds who focus on very basic things like teaching English to folks who are coming out of high school, and those kind of things. And there are a lot of private companies which are actually tapping into these funds also. So I don't think it's a problem. You need to have a good model of getting the right funds, and most of these funds are also looking at some kind of outcome that you can provide to them. So what training for the sake of training is okay, but can you show measurable impact? So I think the obstacle here is not the fund. The obstacle is, let's say, money coming from the fund again and again, because most of the people want to see outcome. And if you can build that in your training model, in terms of the mobility you can create for people, or in terms of learning outcomes that they can do, then I don't think it will be a major challenge. There are companies which are willing to donate money from the CSR funds.
Yeah. Next question is from Rishketu. Would you want to take this question, Rishketu? You can unmute and ask if you want. Otherwise, I'll just read it out for you.
Yeah, I think I have read the question. So
there are so many institutes which give pay. I'll just read it out for the recording purposes. There are many institutes which give pay after placement, like Newton Odin Masai School, which offer that if you get a package of above 5 lakh, only then do you pay the fee. Otherwise, no fee will be taken. So everyone wants the facilities. Why did you not offer something like this?
Yeah, great question. So the first part is that, okay, first of all, why do you think people are offering this service? Because they are basically bringing down their entire marketing funnel to be at zero cost. Like, you do something like this, potentially you are inviting the entire world to come and apply for your courses, right? Because you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay right now. Now, question is that, is it a sustainable model for an enterprise or not? Now, I'll tell you some of the core challenges that right from companies, like if you heard of Lambda School, right from there to all the models which have been adapted from Lambdas of the world, which came in here. Now, see, the major challenge in these models is that there are a hell lot of drop-offs that happens because the customer doesn't have any commitment to. It's like you go into a gym, you have to do a lot of hard work, and you've not paid for it. Half of these people are going to come out of it. In fact, gym business model works around that. The owner doesn't want you to come all the time. That's how their business model is, right? And it's the same with these ISA companies as well. But they want you to come because eventually you have to go through the program to get to the outcome, which is the placements. Now you would see that when people don't have commitment, and when I say commitment, because it's a free learning session, and it's very well reflected in the massively open online course as well, where we don't have completion rates. We have 5%, 6% completion rates, right? Now, why does it happen? Because there is no commitment, there is no accountability to sit and finish up the class, there is no peer learning, and a lot of things which actually facilitates the entire learning experience. So these companies are finding it really hard to scale. That is the honest truth, right? And probably you don't see that, but that's the actual truth in the industry, that ISA companies are finding it harder to scale. So what we said was that we want commitment from the customer in terms of delivering a superior learning experience. So we said that we will charge X money. The rest of the money we will charge if you want to go for placements through us. It is very interesting that even if you pay a lot of money to a course also, sometimes after a point of time, the customer decides not to probably continue the course because something changes in their life in the 4 to 6 months period, because you can't optimize human behavior beyond a point. The second problem in the models like ISA and Newton is that you have to take 100 people, you have to filter out a lot, you have to work with a set of people who are extremely, I would say, average, above average, to get to the outcome of, let's say, 6 lakh, 7 lakh, 8 lakh jobs. Board Infinity learners, the majority of the learners that come through are going through a, let's say, above average to average journey, or a 0 to 1 kind of journey, because they are mostly going to get somewhere between. So we have companies at 6, 7, 8 lakh, 10 lakh ranges also, but they're mostly going to get somewhere between 3.5, 4 up to, let's say, 6. And that's a reality. Why that's a reality? Because if you currently do not have any skill sets to back, nobody is willing to take a bet on you. So typical entry-level jobs, people are asking for 1 year experience, and that's totally absurd, right? So our customer will not sometimes even get selected by a Newton school. That is the truth, or a Masai school. Why? From a pure ability standpoint, to from a that admission test standpoint, and a lot of factors related to that. Now, the third and most important reason, and I know you should understand how this pay after placement model works, is that if a customer is paying X amount after pay after placement, and if that amount is greater than the debt that you would take to do a similar program, which one will you choose? So most of the ISA programs, they charge heavy after placement fees, right? And sometimes the customer also feels ripped off. That's the actual word I should use. They feel ripped off because they feel that, it's my effort that is leading to this thing. How can you charge me so high? So these are the challenges in the ISA model. I mean, from a paper standpoint, it looks great. And I really want ISA models to click. The reason being that it again builds in affordability, but it's not a straightforward model to scale. So most of the ISA companies have started taking larger upfront fees these days. And you would have seen that over the last 2 to 3 years that they started with 0. And most of them have moved to charging more upfront, because in the end, commercial viability becomes the challenge.
Yeah, so then engagement on the platform then becomes an important part of getting people placed plus interested.
Yes.
So how are you building like a high engagement bit of this platform?
We have a very core, apart from all the tech that we do, we have a very core classes DNA, I would say. So when I say classes DNA is that one is the instructor that was teaching, but your entire 6 to 7 months is broken down into each and every activity that you need to do. And you have tests, assessments, projects, hackathons, every single thing which will help you enable skills by actually doing work. It's not passive listening alone, right? So engagement comes from one, listening to the instructors, acting as in actively asking questions to them, so the learning process becomes superior. There are program managers, teaching assistants who actually help them with basic doubts that they have, or any other queries that they have throughout the program piece. after all these areas where they learn for 4 to 6 months, as in they learn around 4 to 5 months functional skills, there is a 1 month of placement training module also, where they are attached to one expert, 1:1, where they're actually talking to them, understanding how to present their resume, what they should do. So the entire experience is delivered in such a way, even though it's online, the entire experience is delivered in such a way that there is a high level of commitment that happens. So there is this research, and this research which says that the efficacy of a 1:1 training model is 2 sigma better than any other models out there. So there's an actual research behind it, and even Austin from Lambda speaks about this quite a lot, and it's true. And so the question is, can we create virtual experts over a period of time? But even today, human instructors, the value of a human instructor is extremely high, and that is how the engagement is built out. That you have real instructors, high quality people coming and teaching you, and giving you the best engagement possible, and then moving you towards outcome. So that is why today in the industry we have a NPS of close to 65 at our current scale, and NPS is basically people who mark you 9 out of 10 minus 0 to 6, right? And it is very difficult to maintain this at scale, and it is happening because superior customer service is being provided in terms of what they really need, which is this building this high engagement experience model. So I don't know whether you guys have known about these platforms like Peloton in the US. And so Peloton is a craze. So why is it a craze? Because it's building a high engagement experience for your fitness, right? And I think all the entire tech community also understands that the web 1.0 was around content scaling, accessibility, etc. The web 2.0 and 3.0 is actually about building commitment to what you're trying to do. Yeah, so hence the creator economy and those kind of things, right? So
I've almost taken up all of the questions that Govind might have. Govind, if you have a question, because I already have a follow-up to this.
No, I think Shruti, I won't break the flow. Let it. Yeah.
So sorry. I just wanted to make sure that I was picking your questions also. So you incline towards live classes more or in-person sessions more, because the kind of efficacy that comes out of both of these is very different. That's something that came up as a follow-up question right after I asked you the first one.
So these are live classes. These are like we are chatting right now. These are live classes that happens mostly during the weekends, because that's when the customer is also available and the experts are also available. And the other level to which we have innovated right now is that we have personal tutoring model also, which is 1:1. You don't have to sit through a cohort. You are basically going through a 3 to 4 months exercise and finishing off your studies with the the expert that is involved. Now, are we doing hybrid today? I think currently 100% is live online. 2 years back, we had done a little bit of offline. Why? Because we have experts distributed across 20 plus cities in India, and our customers also spread across multiple places. So right now we are doing a little bit of hybrid, in the sense that we're going to start off slowly. It helps in 2 ways. One is that you build a local presence in terms of a brand. People understand, oh, okay, you have an office in, it's very interesting that even today, a lot of our customers, they want to come and visit the office. So this is the downside of not having an ATL, because they don't know you yet. So they would expect you to have an office in the places that you are trying to operate. So
yeah, that's true. Now there's a question that usually comes in, and this will go into the gray area of how you would want to answer. There are 2 very big pivotal players in the market. And someone in the audience asked if you would ever even consider getting out of the operational part of the company by handing it up to them, yet being in your individual or would you want to cash out, make another company out of it? It's not a company specific question. It's a person, what you and Abhi would want to do kind of a question.
Yeah, so it's been 4 years, and I think over a period of time, I'll give you an interesting journey. That there was this company which was in the same space, in the same region. When we were doing our seed round, they wanted to invest in us, and we said no. And today, unfortunately, that company is not doing well and they are kind of out of the market. Over the last, I think, 2 years, we have had at least 1-2 inquiries for selling off.
Wow.
And we were like, we were too young as a company in our life cycle to even think about it. And most important part is that we thought. So my view was very simple. I said that so I'm generally excited about things when the problems are very hard to solve. If the problems are, so when I was in management consulting, also one of the things which I really didn't like was that the problems were not super exciting enough to solve. Right? You come into consulting and background to solve super exciting problems, but that's not how it was happening. Except for a few projects, that's how it is. Now, if the problem is super hard to solve, it excites me more. It just holds my attention a lot. And I believe this is a sector where the problems are not going to be solved that easy as possible. It's not like you build an infrastructure and you are employing 100% people on the planet. It's not going to happen. So I think there's a lot of room to cover, and we are just scratching on the surface as a company. And also, we just felt that the journey to in fact build something substantial in the space would take at least 8 to 10 years, at least. And we also and I think in the last couple of years, one of the things which we've been always tried to understand is that philosophically, what does it mean to in fact build a company, right? And what do you want to do? So a lot of people want to have a trader mentality. Okay, fine, I'll build for some time and sell off and then move on and build something else. But I kind of don't agree to that philosophy, at least from my side. I'm not saying that's wrong. At least from my side, I'm not that person. One, Abhi is also not that person, and the kind of people whom we have hired are also not that people. So we are at least making our team members think around a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year view in the company, and that's very difficult for people who are jumpers to be part of such culture as well, right? And so I think what we've seen is that the trajectory for us has been great. As long as growth is not stalling, we will keep growing. And if it makes sense to be part of a larger group at some point to unlock more value, we will consider that one. But I don't think it's anytime soon.
Yeah. All right. So now the mega question that we've all been hearing: what profiles are you hiring for? Is there hiring happening? And then I'll do the shameless plug of us being able to help you with that. But at first, we'd like to know what is the growth plan in terms of resources and what all profiles you'd want to hire for.
See, I think so. Let me try to kind of break down the hiring a little bit. So one side you have your entire the admissions, the marketing, and the operations machinery, and then you have the product tech and then support functions, right? So I think I will just cover a little bit around the tech category growth digital marketing sides. There are a lot of openings right now. Tech, we have a few I think very entry level positions right now going on: backend, front end, ML and Python. In category, we're looking at associate category managers, academic content writers, people who can work on the community management aspect, learners side, also alumni who have graduated, also community managers involved on the educator side, which is the instructor pool. On the growth side, right now we're looking at hiring on the product growth. So basically a product growth manager, someone on the YouTube side, and I think a couple of places like campus ambassadors, which is more like an offline to online connect. Similarly, digital marketing also, we have a few roles like a marketing analyst, a graphic designer, performance marketing manager. So I think hiring is like always on, and there's a lot of openings out there. And then we have an entire, education tech is very famous for having admission counselors, etc. So that's like a separate army altogether. We have a very, I would say, a decently sized team right now, and keeps growing every month. So I think hiring is happening as we speak, and happy to see if there is a good set of folks who would like to come along in this journey.
Yeah. So shameless plug, creators of products will have a lot of profiles that fit into a lot of this. It's not just sorry, it's not just product managers that are our audience. Our audience consists of everyone who wants to better themselves and get into a hot tech space. We've had a lot of people reach out to us for one of the major ones is community building, and the other one was growth of a company, and we would definitely want to help you out with that. Govind, if you have any further questions, please do let us know.
So, Sumesh, my last question is, was there ever a stage in the early days where you were like, let's give up? I mean, it doesn't make sense. Degree hai, scale come hai. I mean, was there any give up points, or somehow you didn't have any of those give up days? Is there any give up story?
I think from a problem solving standpoint, there were a few moments where we would have hit a deadlock, but no, I don't think it's the nature of both the founders to give up. That's the main. I think the problem with founders also that they are eternal optimists, and they keep chipping at things till you get somewhere. And I think for you, sometimes Govind, sometimes what happens is that this is the largest company that I've built and Abhi has built, and we are not of the opinion that this is the largest we could build, right? And so for us, everything is new, and for us, I think the journey has been about what do you call uncover new things and move forward. We've never been bored. We are not those characters who get bored with a particular thing. I mean, you have no idea. We've sitting around and if there is one process which is already optimized, we're sitting and over optimizing it as well. I mean, in the sense that how can we make sure leakages are not happening. So there is this joke within the company that are we running a startup or a public company. So that's it's just the nature that we are in. But I would say that at least for me, most of rejection is a part of this entire process, right? In multiple ways, right? I mean, people would not think things would scale. I still have had one extremely reputed person coming and saying that this is not going to scale, and in 4 years he's saying that, hey, this has actually scaled, right? And so for me, it was not like an I told you so moment. For me, it was like, let's just go under the hood, build again, and keep growing. So for me, I think that was more interesting than giving up. Giving up was never in the agenda, and I was always thinking through that how can we build more and more.
No, that's great. Perseverance, I think, is the key. And sorry, Shruti, I said that was my last question. There's one more question. Now skill tech universities are coming up. Do you ever imagine applying to become a university to get more value for what you guys are teaching, even if it's just perceptive value?
I think we could integrate with some partner who thinks like us. So I'm not the kind who says the degree is useless. I will never ever say that, because I know the value of a degree. I'm a person who has actually taken 2 degrees, right? So you can, there are people who think that it's white or black. I think both. It could be white and black. So the way that I'm looking at it is that can we integrate with a great partner? Could be an OPM model. It could be a university. Could be a counseling company which brings people into higher education. It could be multiple things, but I've always looked at building partnerships and seeing how we can do it. So today, I think on the company side, we are making a lot of partnerships. So some of the large IT companies are currently talking to us to co-brand courses, or those kind of activities happening. So what I believe is that anything which could reasonably get people to career transitions, those integrations are something that we would like to look at.
Understood. Thanks. I think Shruti jumped off.
That's great. Thanks. So we have a standard. I'm sorry, Govind, you were saying?
I thought your connection went off. Back to you. Yeah.
Oh, no. I have a patchy internet segment. All right. We have one standard question that Divakar always asks. How do you unplug yourself from work as a founder and take time out to do other activities?
Okay, I need to define my other activities, and that's the way.
Okay, I think we now know that you don't do that.
So see, for me, I think other activities probably before I started Board Infinity was basically, I think, chilling out with friends, reading, spending time with my wife, these are the things that I used to do. And right now, I think I do all these things. So one of the things which I have started understanding also is that as you start growing up in your age or in your life, it's very easy to kind of lose the old strings that you have, right? And so one of my very close friends, he started so in fact, I said that I was on a call before we jumped into this thing. So 11 to 11:30, 11 to 11:45. Every Sunday, I have a call along with my friends from college. And this is a weekly thing that we do. So there are some rituals that we do to ensure that you unplug. So Sundays 11 to 11:45 I do that. In a week, at least 2 to 3 times I'm going to the gym because I like going to the gym. And sometimes I go out for a drive. And mostly I'm sitting on books. That's pretty much it. I think I do almost all the things that everybody does. It's just that the proportion of time being spent on it is slightly on the. That's all.
Great. We've overshot our time a lot. Thanks a lot, Sumesh, for coming in, explaining to us how amazing Board Infinity is. Thanks, Govind, for introducing us and being here. Sorry, we didn't get to ask too many questions. I was just too involved in asking questions. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This was an amazing experience. We're creators of products. Please do visit us on creatorsofproducts.com, and we'll help you out with a lot of need that you might have. And also connect you with amazing founders. Till the next weekend when we come up with another founder. Have a great Sunday, everyone. And let's hope India wins the match today. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shruti.
Okay. Divya, I've stopped the recording. Would you close the live?
Live streams ended.
All right, great.